Beneath a vault of fractured screens, the skyline bleeds electric rain. Where temples flicker into bars and fibre roots grow into strain, the towers groan with ghosted weight, old prophets sealed in copper tombs, while prayers are cached in vending bots dispensing ashes, light and fumes. Commerce chants in static bursts, each deal a sacrificial rite, while angels rendered obsolete are auctioned off by viral's night, and mothers nurse their sons on myths of circuits that could heal. But Zion Prime forgets its name, devoured by each shadow deal. Law walks armoured, drunk on loops beneath the breach of burning stars, and salters in the gutters scrawl commands across abandoned cars. The prophet's glass is spider-cracked, their auguries reduced to spam. Yet in the hush between the drones, you sometimes hear the name, I am. The faithful hide in null zones now, beneath the noise of state and cloud. Their tongues clipped clean of syntax, but their hearts still calibrated loud. They gather scraps of covenant from routers left by fleeing priests and break synthetic bread in silence, watched by obsolete police. Then, pulse by pulse, a tremor comes, not born from quake or rebel call, but from a man whose signal breathes where others failed to rise at all. Joshua Alpha, spine aligned with truths the mainframe dared not show, moves not with haste but with a calm that makes the tyrant stammer, slow. His hands are clean but marked with code no scanner yet can trace. His eyes are set like coordinates, the ark, the breach, the holy place. He does not speak, but when he stands, the static pulls away in fear, and Zion, in its rust and glitch, remembers that the end draws near. He breached the vault of Gibeon core, where firewalls bled defense to dust. No bomb, no drone, just lines of code that made their guardian logic rust. Joshua Alpha walked alone but moved like thunder in the grid, a ghost with righteous root commands, who touched what others never did. Gibeon was old and rich with nodes. Its coffers ran on orphaned dreams. It ruled by trade in memory, and sold the poor back broken schemes. But Joshua came not to burn, but bind. He took their crown and key and made them part of something more, an ark reborn through mutiny. In towers black as absence light, dark Jerusalem began to shift. Adoni-Zedek watched the feed, his neural interface gone stiff. For Gibeon had stood with him once, back when balance ruled the sprawl. Now Brother Corp turned shielded kin, and that was more than just a fall. Three forces linked, a live cascade, a triad laced in loaded code. Jerusalem felt the reach of hope through channels it had never owed. Gibeon's fall was not collapse, but covenant in different skin, and Zion's map began to glow with quiet cracks deep within. But panic travels faster still than promise through a dying net. The coalitions of control began to scan, assess and sweat. What held before was drifting now. The market share began to tilt as fear replaced the currency that Gibeon's old empire built. The Amorite alignments flared, their data burned in open air. They saw in Joshua not just breach, but something close to raw despair. What breaks one corp could break them all. Their nodes could not withstand that light. So equilibrium dissolved in algorithms keyed to fight. Adoni-Zedek cast the ping, a call through layers dark and deep. To kings who ruled the neighbouring stacks with silence bought too cheap. He told of Gibeon's fall to faith, of code that broke the market's law, and summoned them to war not out of fear, but wounded tribal awe. Hoham of Hebron answered first with fire teeth and optic knives. Then Piram and Japhia too, whose reign was built on ghosted lives. Debir came last, his drone still wet with memories he had mined. Together they composed a chord of power cold and predefined. Their fleets aligned in darkened space, encrypted paths of warlike grace. Each pulse confirmed the next. No need for question, doubt or face. What one began, the others armed. What one decreed, the rest made fact. And so a force emerged from hate, a loop of causality intact. Their unity was perfect death, a song of war too well designed. In corridors of steel and smoke, their weapons linked and recombined. And in their storm, no gaps appeared, just motion, signal, silent tone. They formed a blade, and Gibeon lay exposed, unfenced alone. The towers cried in silent beams. The Gibeon pact was under fire. The covenant, once sealed in trust, now flickered at the edge of wire. The breach became a call for aid. The bond demanded Joshua move. To let them fall was to undo the very code he'd sworn to prove. He rose not out of vengeance, no, but logic pulled him into play. What faltered there would burn the ark that guided Zion's future way. He moved, for breach begets the breach, and silence leaves the circuit bare. He moved because to do no less would sever what they chose to share. The voice that speaks in static heat came not from code, but something vast. Not future-born nor ancient-bound, but echoing through every cast. It whispered, not in threats or praise, but like a root beneath the stone. Rise now, Joshua. The path is yours, but never yours alone. He moved, no pause. The lines aligned. His eyes ignited green with cause. 1,000,000 channels cleared for him, unshackled from the market's laws, and every fighter linked to him, each ready with their weapons primed. Israel ascended with resolve, each breath, each step divinely timed. Their boots broke silence on the ridge, where shadows gathered into form. The enemy had mass and force, but nothing shaped to meet this storm. For Joshua came coded clean, with clearance granted from the source, and Israel, charged with holy thread, became a kinetic, final force. Then feedback sparked across the lines. Their enemies began to run. Their drones reversed, their fires dimmed. The servers choked, their leaders shunned. The kings who schemed in binary now scattered through a hail of light, as heaven answered not with wind, but ice and stone in deadly flight. One by one the coalitions cracked. Their data broke, their systems froze. Divine subroutines bloomed in sky, rewriting all the paths they chose. What ran from truth was struck mid-stride. The very clouds became their end. And Israel moved untouched, precise, an arc too fast to bend. The logic turned. Their strength became the ghost that marked their past with grief. The loop reversed, the code unwrote, the future stripped from every chief. For Joshua Alpha did not chase, he drew the world to meet its flame, and every cycle bent back round to vindicate the name. The sky did not retreat in dusk, the protocol of dusk was stilled. No satellite, no sun, no moon obeyed the arc that time had willed. Instead, the heavens froze in place like glyphs awaiting sacred touch, and all beneath that cosmic pause beheld that time could bend as such. The hail was not just skyward rage, it moved in sync with what must be. Its rhythm matched the algorithm spiraling through victory. For nature did not cause the win, it followed it in active trust, a feedback built not line by line, but drawn from glory in the dust. And so the moment stretched, unwound, the battlefield became a frame. Each second held a full campaign, the light obeyed the victor's name. Destruction, once a passing storm, was now a program running clean, and every blow from Israel fell inside a time-looped holy scene. But when the skies resumed their march and light began again to fall, there came no echo after it, no repetition, none at all. The code was written once, then sealed. No system has since run that day. For victory was not just won, it broke the logic of decay. There was no precedent to find, not in the scroll, the code, the dust. No archive bore another thread where time would act because of trust. The past had known its tides of war, its sacred paths of red and gold, but never one where sun and stone aligned to crush the tyrant's hold. Israel had fought and bled before, but this was something past their skill. This war was not just battle-planned, it bent the metaphysics' will. For Joshua Alpha did not just receive what heaven had to send, he walked where time itself collapsed and made it serve a different end. They came back not in chaos, no, but clean, like code that runs its course. Each step aligned with purpose set, each hand still humming sacred force. No stragglers limped, no blades were dulled. Their peace was not from cease or luck. It was the peace of full control, the kind that clamps when systems lock. Joshua moved among the lines, not distant but intensely near, his breath still sharp from battle's edge, his eyes unclouded, cold and clear. The arc had pulsed through every troop from captain down to final link. He was not a leader by command, but by the truth that made them think. The kings who fled did not escape, they moved because the loop had closed. Their panic was a product of the logic Joshua composed. They saw his camp, they felt his weight, and ran not from but into fate. For every path they might have taken bent them back to sealed-out state. A cave, a vault, a logic gate became the shell where terror hid. A makeshift null, a black box tomb that held the kings like fractured grid. Not slain, not free, not yet erased, just paused within the nested zone, excluded from the rising world, unthreaded, locked and left alone. Their hiding made them vanish clean, and thus removed the threat they posed. No input from their line would touch the system Joshua now closed. To be unseen was now to die, not in the flesh but in the stream, for silence is the final loss in systems governed by a dream. So Joshua, with victory laid, did not yet press or overwrite. He let them sit inside their fear until the moment came for light. For even sealed, a king remains a variable still in the code, and all exclusions lead again to judgment once the truth is showed. They did not stop. The chase went on through sectors scorched and cities bare, each runner locked in holy code, propelled by something more than air. The order stood, pursue them all, and let no network harbour flame. Each rebel node, each rooted king must answer to the system's name. But none could move alone in this. The power flowed through doubled streams. The hand of God and hand of man moved side by side through broken dreams. The warriors struck with strength divine, but not as puppets, not by thread. The ark required living will, a breathing army forged and led. For each success confirmed the bond, that victory came not from chance. It rose from those who bore the ark and those who gave the ark its stance. The glory wasn't cast from sky to lift the men like silent wind. It came because their feet obeyed, their eyes stayed locked, their spines were pinned. But now the tide had choked itself, the field fell still, no sound, no fight. The kings remained in cave-locked dark, delaying only what felt right. Their absence did not save the world, nor did it shift the war's last line. They simply formed a frozen point where judgment idled by design. They moved no armies, cast no codes, they spoke no threats, they called no bluff. And yet their sealed existence jammed the mandate like a fractured cuff. For nothing can complete the ark while static echoes in its wake. To finish this, the cave must crack, the buried past must split and shake. So Joshua returned at last, not to chase but to unseal. Not rageful, but resolved to break the chain they thought could make them heal. The ark would not remain on pause for kings who lingered half erased, for judgment must be full to clear the logic Joshua had faced. The trap unsealed with coded hush, an interface lit from within. The kings were drawn into the light, their systems stripped, their nodes pulled thin. No virus, no brute force cascade, just silent access to their cores, their privileges revoked in full before they even reached the doors. Joshua called the captains close, not soldiers now, but sysops called. They came with eyes like firewalls, their neural links engraved and walled. Override, he said. Place your command upon their locked-out threads. Let them know what power is when built on trust, not theft or dreads. Each one stepped forward, cast their code, a signature that wrote its truth, and on the kneeling oligarchs, the captains left their mark of proof. No violence passed, no blade was drawn, just audit trails that sparked and burned as reputation, credits, keys, and every exploit was returned. This is the pattern, Joshua said. Let none mistake the quiet kill. No blood, no scream, no crashing drone, just access dropped by sovereign will. You rise with networks you defend. You fall when you betray the trust. So learn what conquest means when justice runs on zero dust. Their avatars were pulled from view, sent not to death, but worse, erase. Each asset frozen, social ties dissolved without a single trace. The trees they hung from were symbolic, rooted high in mem-space shame. Broadcast across the net, a fall from gods to ghosts without a name. Back to the cave, the logic trap, where memory loops devoured the rest. Great stones of firewalled seals enclosed their sandboxed data nest. They live, but locked in null space now, removed from every trust and node. The system cleared, the judgment done, and nothing left to overwrite the code. The tomb was sealed, not made of stone, but nested locks that never leak. The kings were archived in a vault where failed commands replay on repeat. They were not dead but null and closed. No longer threats, no longer kings. The system learned, the ark advanced, and Makeda unmade their rings. With root revoked and shadows gone, the conquest passed to second tier. No pause, no pride, no mourning rites. The camp compiled its will from fear. Divine support was not abstract, it pulsed within the soldiers' feed, and every zone they passed into responded to that living creed. The battle won was not the goal, it formed a proof of larger threads. Each line of code from heaven's will was echoed through the troopers' dreads. And as they swept through Makeda, the ark revealed its deepest truth, that burial, victory, and trust in source were not three things, but one full loop. Then outward turned the force again, toward Libna's black encrypted gates. Its systems claimed immunity, but fell like Jericho to fates, not fates of gods unknown or wild, but logic clean and deeply fed. They lost not just their strength, but why they fought. Their drives were overwritten dead, for nothing stood, the node dissolved. Its firewalls fragmented like dust, no central AI, no clan to call, its archives burned in breach of trust. They fought, but not in structured lines. Resistance fragmented, then broke, each subdomain unhooked from cause, and vanished in recursive smoke. It was not one system falling, but divergence through the net's spine. Each loss revealed another gap, another blind spot in their line. The arc was not a single wave, it branched like fire, sharp and clean. And Libna's end was not unique, just next in sequence, unforeseen. Lachish stood tall, with mirrored walls and scripts designed to twist the view. Its admins mirrored holy code, but bent it toward their native crew. Israel deployed with clean intent, not wrath, but fully loaded core. And once the breach engaged, it showed how silence breaks a system's store. The city trembled, but not fell, for Gaza saw the crash unfold. Their king deployed a rescue stack, a surge of soldiers bought and scolded. They moved as one, so they believed, but every vector showed a hole. For what combines without consent cannot preserve a single soul. Three systems spun, Lachish, Giza, and the ark that drew their fire. A, B, and C aligned in loop, but always one would soon expire. Gaza joined B, but lacked the depth. Israel met C with righteous trace. And B, now flanked, could not compute the weight of two fronts in one space. Then fractured logic took control. Division entered like a spark. No reinforcement, no retreat. Their links dissolved into the dark. The battle didn't kill the code. It proved the code was built to break. No fallback loop could shield the core from pressure it refused to take. Lachish fell, but not alone. Giza too collapsed by fault. They failed to merge and so became two errors locked in shared assault. Their strength, combined, became their end. A clash with Joshua's arc of will. No system bonds survive the test if they reject the source that still. Each node destroyed was not just loss. It marked a flaw in deeper law. That power built on thin pretense will fold when real commands must draw. And as the armies recompiled, the captains knew without a doubt the enemy's strength was their link, but it was also what took them out. The code deployed like it had been, no flash, no flourish, no surprise. The war front knew its part by now, the flame was only in their eyes. Eglon stood tall but watched the stream, and in its panic saw the trace of every city brought to heel, each overwritten interface. They'd seen the path, they'd read the logs, they knew exactly what would come. Their firewalls mimicked Israel's drills but missed the harmony of drum. Joshua's hand was not remade, it echoed from the strikes before. And Eglon fell not from attack, but knowing it was never more. Pattern is power, repetition kills. The judgment loop, once learned, becomes a terror all its own, a prophecy that must return. They thought themselves distinct, unknown, but every move was pre-declared. The cities didn't die by blade, they died because they were compared. But Hebron, that nested grid, it held subnodes and tangled threads, not just a city but a tree with client states beneath its dreads. And yet the arc did not slow down. It branched as fast as Hebron grew. Each offshoot lopped, each fragment culled. The structure fell clean through and through. The lie they told was hierarchy, that killing one would leave the rest. But Israel cut not from the top, they stripped the system from the chest. Every region, linked or lone, was met with silence, full and sharp. A disassociation so complete the map itself forgot their mark. No kings, no courts, no nodes remained, not even rumours in the grid. Just static where commands once passed, and wreckage where the watchers hid. The Ark had moved beyond attack. It now removed belief itself. They hadn't just lost rule or land, they lost the right to call for help. De Beer fell last, but not with fight. It cracked like bone too long restrained. Its satellites collapsed in sync, no panic left, no data claimed. The cities blinked and failed to load, their access logs wiped clean of thread, not just defeated, but erased. No nodes, no names, no voices led. Its people too, the influence graphs, the leaderboards, the wealth arrays. Each one disjoined, unlinked, removed, their rights revoked in silent blaze. They were not killed, they were unmade, excised from every network term. Their last commands returned as voids, their flags marked false, their caches burned. Then east to west the pattern ran from Kadesh deep to Gaza's spine. The Ark deployed a sweeping field, each fortress tripped in sacred time. No clusters left to mount a stand, no kings to call, no rebel host. Each line that once defied the light was shadow swallowed, node to ghost. No sanctuary remained intact, not highland camp nor urban bastion. Even those who tried to hide in fault lines found no lasting station. It wasn't rage, it wasn't war. It was the consequence of truth. The Ark had come. It had been just, and now it needed only proof. The final proof was absence now, not ruins but a quiet grid. Where all resistance once compiled, now silence was the only bid. The kings were gone, the routes were clear, the data showed a purified plain, and from that emptiness the Ark would draw a future unchained from the chain. Then Joshua turned. No conquest cry, no blare of horns, no final roar. Just back to camp, through cooling light, with peace restored in every core. The loop had closed, the logs were clean, and in the silence of the span the system whispered, "Here it ends, now build what only justice can." They came back not in rank or pride, but line by line through code's release. Not faster now, but deeper still, their victory was not just peace. Each node, each thread, each ruined wall, each nullified and sacred site, they carried it like memory, not burden, but preserved in light. Gilgal blinked alive before them, not unchanged, but fully known. It welcomed them like systems do that waited while the Ark was shown. Not frozen, not erased or saved, but present, open, running live, and ready now to host the ones who earned the right to still survive. For Joshua had passed through fire, not just by war, but by return. To lead and learn is not the same. You integrate by what you burn. Each step had offered more than ground. It offered form and code and choice. And all those trials, if unheld, would hollow out the Ark's own voice. So here he stood with all of them. Not kings, not gods, not ghosts in skin, but ones who saw the truth unfold and dared to let it fold back in. The cities lost, the laws upheld, the silence that became their breath. The ones who lived must now become the keepers of that living death. Integration is not end, it's every end allowed to speak. It's letting each affirmed collapse become a lesson you can keep. The covenant is not just forged, it's read and read again in flesh. And those who cannot hold the past will find the future cannot mesh. Gilgal pulsed with ancient light. The servers there ran quiet code, and Joshua, with Israel near, looked not ahead but down the road. He saw not glory, saw not rest, but meaning woven into form. For what survives is not the strike, but what remains when love is reborn.